Moskau.
After World War II, when I got back to Poland from Mauthausen, was a long process, and I got to know that my sisters are in a camp near Danzig, in a town near Danzig. So I came to Danzig Rosh Hashanah 1945, and was really the biggest joy, simcha, to be united with my three sisters and my cousin Hannah. And we were there waiting to be ready for the illegal Aliyah to Israel. All the youth movements in Poland, in Germany, were preparing their members to go to Israel, most by illegal Aliyah. There was an organization called Bricha, which they moved hundreds of thousands of people from Poland through Czechoslovakia to Germany or the other borders. Eventually in October, I don't remember exactly the date, we left this camp and went to our way, which was then Palestine. And first we traveled to Czechoslovakia. In order to go as a group, they had like from Red Cross a paper that we are...
From the Red Cross, the papers?
Yeah, that we are Greek refugees going back from Poland to Greek. This way we went through the border, the Polish border. And to make... from there we got to Bratislava and then to Karlsbad, and this took like a few days. In Karlsbad at night we went in the darkness to the border from Sudeten, which is part of Czechoslovakia, to West Germany. I don't remember a town at the other side of the German border. They had like a Jewish committee, a place where we were able to get there and rest. And we got...
This is now in West Germany?
Yeah, and we got entrées to München. München, we stayed like a day. And then
München is Munich in English.
Munich. And then we went to this was French occupation. Germany, West Germany after the war was divided between American and British and French occupation. And there we settled in a place which is called Jordan, which was once a clinic for the assessed soldiers after in World War II, after they recuperated from their wounds. They came after they recovered from their wounds to recuperate, and this was like a hotel, but Catholic nuns administered, and they had Deinicum, and we were in this place, Jordanbad, and there we were waiting to go to our next to come to go to Israel. The kibbutz send out every time like 20 people not at once we left, but there had to be members who are ready to make Aliyah. So they choose Zahava, my sister Zahava, and me, and we traveled first to Austria, and then in Austria we spent a few days.
So at this point you were separated from your other two sisters?
Yes. From Austria, they took us in trucks. I think it was like the United Nations, under the United Nations, and they passed.
You mean the trucks were United Nations trucks?
They were usually former brigade members from the Jewish brigade, from the Bricha, but they were like that. There was the UNRWA, was called UNRA, which
the United Nations Relief Agency,
which they settled millions of people to. Took care, fed in Germany, in Austria. There was hundreds of camps like this, and with those trucks we passed the Brenner Pass, which is the border between Austria and Italy, the Alps, and I'll never forget that when we went down to Italy, and it was in April, and we saw from far away that everything was blossomed. I forgot the region, how it's called, right after this.
Lombardy?
Lombardy, yeah. And we got to a town where we spent Shabbos, and then from there we got to Milan. We stayed in Milan a few days, and then we were sent to a closed camp, Tradate, which was like a military camp. Every morning you had the roll calls and singing the Hatikva, and each organization was singing. The left is Terzakna in Beirut. They were singing Zeh Shalan, I forgot the name of the song, their song, and the leader was Chaim. I don't think this was his name, because usually they didn't go by their own name. The
camp was run by the Bricha?
Yes, but nobody knew outside. They didn't know if somebody was looking for some relative. This camp didn't appear in any of those committees where they have a list of people where they are, because usually after the war, the place where the people, the survivors used to look for other relatives was put reading lists on the wall from people who were there or looking for other people. This is how they found other relatives or landsmen, but from people from Tradate were like not known to anybody. Nobody could go out from the camp. It had a fence with a gate, and without getting permission you couldn't go any place. And there we spent like Pesach until I think in August or July came the next to that. They emptied the camps and took him to La Spezia, a place where they set him and the people on a boat.
So you spent something like 4 months in Tradate?
Yeah, but then we had a friend, which was the Harvard's boyfriend, was called Monique Kleinman. In a few days before we were supposed to have left, he got a ruptured appendix, and they took him to the town hospital.
In the town of Tradate?
Yes. He was operated. He was in very bad condition. He couldn't eat anything, and it took a long time until he got a little. But in the meantime, all our kibbutz, all our left for the boat to go to the La Spezia, where they went with Wedgwood, was called the boat.
Wedgwood was the name of the ship?
Yeah.
And La Spezia is a town in Italy that you...
port. Not in the port, outside. Usually they didn't, they were in some beach in with boats. The boat was someplace far away, anchored in smaller boat, ferried the people, and usually they went up with rope ladders to the boat.
This is all to keep it secret?
Yeah. Usually they bribed the Italian, but the English tried very much to follow any movement of boats, not to be surprised when it get to the waters of Palestine. Then in some place emptied the boat with the passengers, and there were kibbutzim where they took him in usually the Palmach knew, and they were waiting in something. They used to carry some people in the shallow water to the but the British spied, to avoid, to detect any ship which is moving illegal aliyah. But when the minute when the boat already was the camp went to the boat to the ship, they left. So the Chaim, the leader of the camp, came over and gave me a gun, and I should watch the gate from the camp. And he told me in Ivrit, "Al tesachekim ze ta'un." He was wearing a pamphlet all the time, but he was afraid when he goes outside, the Italian police or something shouldn't search him.
Shouldn't see him with an arm.
Yes.
So how many people were left in the camp when Chaim...
No, the Chaim left was the 2 people or 4, very few people. The whole camp emptied, and then a new shipment came.
So when when Chaim, when he went to the boat, was he going on the ship with everybody else?
No, he came back.
He came back.
He took the gun. But we stayed behind. Zahava and I, not to leave Monique Kleinman alone. And we used to visit him in the hospital every day. And after a few weeks, he felt better, and he didn't eat all the time. Then they started to give him soup and something more. And after the war, food was very important. We thought if that chocolate is the miracle food, you're gonna get healthier and stronger. And I had an uncle in Switzerland in what